Welcome to my very first video where I'm going to break down exactly how we've grown 6 businesses to 7 figures. I'm going to go through how did we find them, or how did they start, how did we fund it, how did we grow the businesses, what's the plan with them going forward, and where are we right now. So the first business was Therapy Direct Healthcare. This was a business that I started back in 2006. And it literally was just me. It was me with a portable massage table, because I'm a physiotherapist by background, and I would carry that into people's homes. The investment to start was literally a couple of £100 for that bed. That was it. Now we did this the hard way, we did it the slow way, so it grew organically over 10 years, but we stumbled across the fact that businesses could use and leverage strategic partnerships. So we didn't use any traditional marketing in here, but we still grew this up to 35 members of staff, half of those were part-time, and up to around 1.7 million in revenue, which as a physiotherapist and a physiotherapy provider 10 years ago, that was a sizable business. So it was a startup. We funded it with our own money because it cost a few £100s. We grew it organically and using strategic partnerships to grow. Now, we grew that, as I say, through strategic partnerships. We partnered with other occupational health businesses that lacked an occupational physiotherapy arm. So we literally went to them and said, I can help you to grow your business by supporting you with these particular activities. And we made it really easy for them. So we would generate a treasure map. So we would go to a potential partner and say, we can increase your top line revenue and your profit whilst delivering a service that you can't do by yourself. And by the way, here are the emails you need to send to your potential clients. Here are some PDFs and some glossy brochures that tell them exactly what we do. So we made it super easy, and that business, as I say, grew up to around 1.7 million off the back of this strategic partnership approach. Now, the danger of the strategic partnership approach is you can end up with an asymmetric amount of work coming from one particular partner, and that's what happened with us. So we had 70% of our work with one particular client, and much of that work came from one of their clients, who was Amazon. So we were called into a meeting many years ago now, and we were told that we were being paid too much money and they were going to do the job themselves. Of course, that made sense from a business perspective from their point of view, but it did give us a bit of a dilemma and a desire never to be so reliant on one business again. So this is where we stumbled across the idea that other, even small businesses could grow through acquisition. And I had this idea of growing an ecosystem of interdependent companies that could support one another during periods of difficulty or periods where there was perhaps less work. So we looked horizontally initially. We looked at acquiring other physiotherapy practices, and that's what we did. Our head office was in Gateshead. We acquired a physio business in Newcastle, and then we acquired a physio business in Sunderland. We looked then to grow using tenders, and we won tenders with the local fire department. And we grew that business back up to a point where we could sell it. Now, we also looked vertically along the supply chain as well. So we went down to medical supplies. Physiotherapy companies, of course, use medical supplies. We Googled medical supplies businesses in the northeast of England, came across Northumbrian Medical Supplies, sent them a letter, and a few weeks later we were having a meeting to discuss an acquisition. So the second business that we've taken to 7 figures was Northumbrian Medical Supplies. Now, we found this on Google. We went to meet in person. This is back in 2019, and we acquired that business in October 2019. We used an EFG, which was a government-backed loan called an Enterprise Finance Guarantee, very similar to the RLS loans of today. This was back in 2019. About 6 months after we took over, there was a flu that spread around the world, COVID, you probably remember. But what was interesting is the owner at the time said, oh my God, what a disaster. We can't get any of our normal supplies. Let's close the doors and furlough everybody. But I saw this as a great opportunity to help people. We sold things that were in demand. And I didn't accept that there wasn't a possibility to get things. I jumped on a plane, flew to India to secure a supply chain. That didn't work out. There was a big export ban, so we then turned our attention to China, and we were able to do deals with the Chinese suppliers. Now, our own NHS decided that we weren't a sizable enough player. That business had been doing about 900,000 for many years, even though they later, of course, gave contracts to their friends down the pub. Aside from that, we did have more luck, again using bid writing and tenders, and we secured contracts with the Irish government. So we were able to grow that business by a factor of 8 within the first year using government tenders. Since then, that business has dropped back down. The plan for it is it's not acquisitive. My wife runs that business. It's run quite lean. It's got a wonderful team, a brilliant team of sort of camaraderie and a great feeling there. So that business is just ticking along back around the 7-figure mark, and the plan is that's going to stay there for the next few years. So we found it on Google. We funded it using an EFG. We grew it through using tenders. The plan is it's a lifestyle business now, which is run by my wife. And the biggest lessons there were to do with mindset. So the mindset that everything is on the table. There is always a possibility, even during the midst of a pandemic, when it can look quite difficult, there are opportunities everywhere. Therapy Direct, remember, we started it. The funding was minimal. We grew it through strategic partnerships. We eventually sold that to a supplier of ours. The third business we've taken to 7 figures was Salutaris People. Now, Salutaris means healthy. Again, during COVID, we saw an opportunity. We were being approached by many of our clients saying, surely you must be able to do COVID testing, because Therapy Direct has 3 ISO accreditations. Normedica has a wholesaler dealer license, so you can hold and buy pharmaceuticals, and Beacon, which we'll talk about later, has a CQC license, meaning you can actually treat patients. And the feedback we were getting was, people were popping up all over the place saying they were a COVID tester. So we span out Salutaris People as a testing company, and we grew this using strategic partnerships. So we started this business as a startup. We funded it with our own money, although that was minimal. We grew it through strategic partnerships. We grew it to 7 figures in the first year, and then we were able to sell that business. Fourth business we've taken to 7 figures was Beacon Home Care Services. Now, this was a domiciliary care company. I was introduced to them in 2019. We found it via a broker. We funded the business using a loan, and we took a 50% stake in the company. The business was doing around about 600,000 when we took over, and we've grown it through acquisition. So over the last 3 years, we've done another 3 acquisitions. We've grown that business by a factor of around 6. That business now is continuing to grow slowly through organic means and acquisition, and the plan is to continue that trajectory, and when we'll sell to a larger trade buyer. Fourth business we've taken to 7 figures was an acquisition last year. Now, this one was already doing 7 figures, so just to clarify, we found it via a broker. We funded it using an angel round. So I have 8 other board shareholders in this business. It was already doing 7 figures, but this year we should double or treble the revenue. And we've done that through tender opportunities. So we've doubled down on one of our relationships. We've increased the amount of work coming from that particular business. And the plan is to continue growing through those relationships, supplemented with some acquisitive growth. And the plan is that we will grow and sell that to private equity. And we're actually talking to 2 private equity houses at the moment at the smaller end, the boutique sort of scale, where they're interested in businesses that are around about $1 million of net profit. And finally, the 6th business is in the recruitment space. This one's brand new. We found it through our network, and we were involved in doubling their business. So that business has grown by 100%. It's doubled with a single acquisition, and I've come in as a shareholder to fuel that growth with further acquisitions. And the plan is to grow that business by a factor of 8 to 10, at which point we will sell to a larger trade buyer or possibly private equity. So they are the 6 businesses we've grown to 7 figures over the last 4 years. We've found them through a variety of means. We found them through our own network, we found them using Google, we found them using brokers, we funded them using a variety of facilities, including acquisition finance, including angel investment, and including our own capital. We've grown them through strategic partnerships, through bid writing, and of course through acquisition. The lessons have been numerous, but largely that even small businesses can grow through acquisition, and mindset is crucial. Throughout it all, I've been able to apply more of my own time to my own health as well, and the healthier, stronger I've become, I've noticed our businesses have continued to grow as well. So that is definitely the foundation, I believe, to success. And the plan is they're all slightly different, but they're going to continue growing, and the exit will be to private equity, to larger trade buyers over the coming years. So they're the 6 businesses we've taken to 7 figures. The plan is to do another 5 acquisitions at least this year, and to continue growing to a portfolio company of around 100 million over the next 12 to 24 months. Hopefully that's helpful. Have a great day.